The humble garden fork, once a highly prized possession, so sought after it was often the subject of theft. That was a long time ago, when survival depended on the food people grew. Today, of course, food is mass-produced and sold in supermarkets, but the garden fork is still at the top of your garden tool table. There are many versions of the garden fork, from hand forks to border forks. There's one for every job. At this factory, they've been forging garden forks for over 200 years. Using a 600-ton punch press, 2 basic fork shapes are cut out from this hot and malleable steel. The tines or prongs for this particular kind of fork are shorter than most, because these are border forks, used for turning the soil rather than digging deep. With the basic shape now established, it's back into the furnace to re-soften the stem. A worker repeatedly feeds it through rollers to thin it down and widen it. This press then trims it, at the same time cutting holes for attaching the wood shaft. The next press drives the steel stem into a cylindrical die, forcing it into the basic shape of a socket. The worker slides the socket into a cone form and strikes it repeatedly to refine the socket. This sizes it for a wooden shaft. It's a completely different process when making digging forks, because of their longer curved tines. After forging a spider shape, a worker bends a prong around a post to position it for shaping. This 2-person team works in tandem. One fires the spider and bends the prongs. The other inserts the prong into the grooves of 2 revolving dies to stretch them. With 2 tines now shaped, his partner bends them out of the way so he can work on the 3rd one. Rolling takes 18 months of training to perfect. If the tine isn't precisely aligned with the grooves, the equipment could seize, causing possible injury to the worker, and the dies would almost certainly be damaged. With the 4th tine now stretched, the other member of the team twists all 4 tines around the post again, this time to bend them all in the same general direction. After about 10 minutes of work, they have the rough shape of a digging fork. They then form the socket and crop the tines. Fired to a malleable state again, a worker drives tooling between the tines to straighten them and even the gaps between them. He rests the fork socket against a steel slope and lowers a ram. It drives into the tines, pushing the socket against the slope, bending it upward, which gives a better angle for digging. He inserts the tines into a press, and the press closes around each tine to taper the corners. A ram now pounds the base of the tines against a swooped anvil to give it a gentle curve. The hot fork then goes into cool water, which serves to harden the steel. The next worker grinds off any rough from the sides and sharpens the edges. He narrows the tips to a point, and this will enable the fork to pierce solid earth. Any minor adjustments are made manually. Here you can see the difference this makes. The prongs on the left are out of alignment. The ones on the right have been fixed. An electrostatic charge is applied to the forks to attract a green powder spray. Once cured, it forms a skin that resists corrosion. Now out of the curing oven, the fork is locked in place while a wooden shaft is put into the socket. It's secured with rivets. A belt sander is then used to blend the wood to the metal in a process known as linishing. Here, the bottom fork is the one that's been linished. Finally, the wood shaft and handle are dipped in varnish, giving them a glossy stain that enhances the grain. This garden fork is now done, but it won't look shiny and new for long, because it'll be digging the dirt very soon.